Welcome to another mastermind from Millionaire Barber. Tonight we got Chester on here. Now Chester is out in Texas and he's a school owner, barber. His school is Legends Barber College because he's a legend out there. See, he's going to talk about his accreditation, but first, Chester, we want you to go back to childhood and step us to where you are right now, because we got a lot of school owners on here and we got a lot of potential school owners. So they need to know your journey that you've traveled. So let's get started, Chester.
Okay, so how I started off, I was 15 years old, Chin. And well, when I was 14, I had the passion for it, I had the passion. I wanted it then. And so when I turned 15, I bought my first pair of clippers. And when I bought my first pair of clippers, I didn't have nobody hair to cut. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to start cutting my own hair and I'm going to see how that work out, just messing around, not thinking that it was going to be anything at all. So what had happened was that I started cutting my hair and then I started liking it. I was like, man, you know what? This is pretty interesting. And, of course, my hair was messed up and I would fix it. And then, like, the next time I cut my hair, it would be better. Then I would mess up. Then I'll fix it. Then I mess up. And, and it just like, once I got to the point to where I wasn't messing up anymore, and people started asking me like, man, who cut your hair? And I tell them, I say, man, you know what? I cut my own hair. And it was like, oh, no, man. I was like, yeah, I cut my own hair. And they say, you think you can give me a haircut? I say, yeah, I'll give you a haircut. I say, it might not be like a barbershop haircut, but I give you a haircut. And I was cutting at my mom's house in the front porch, in the bathroom, wherever I could get a head in. It didn't make me no difference. And I just wanted to do it because, it was fun. It was fun. And so with that, I just decided I'm going to go ahead and cut other people's hair. And they were down with it. I went to a local barbershop around here in Lufkin. I don't know if anybody on Facebook or IG are familiar with Lufkin, Texas. It's a little small community about 2 miles from Houston. And so I went there and he was like, man, I hear you cutting hair around your community in your neighborhood. I was like, yeah, man. It's like, what you charge? I said, I don't charge him nothing. I mean, I just cut it just, because I like it. It's fun. He was like, man, charge him $5 or something. I said, oh, they ain't gonna pay, He's like, yeah, you will. They'll be surprised. And I'm like this little old 15-year-old kid. And I started cutting this one guy hair, and I say, they'll be $5, and I'm looking at him, I'm kind of scared, like, well, what am I supposed to do? He gonna give it to me or not, or how this work? And so he handed me $5 and he gave me a little tip. So I was like, man, it's pretty easy. And so I did that to, put gas in my car as a little 15-year-old. And then I ended up playing for the Lufkin High School football team. I really wasn't the best football player. And I didn't get much playing time on the field, but at least I got to cut all of the football players' hair after the practice and after the game. So I was cutting their hair. And, and I felt a part of the team because I just, just wasn't no just football built player. And so after I graduated here in 2000, and then my mom was like, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a barber. She said, okay. So there wasn't no barber school around here. There was one in Tyler, Texas, and there was one in Houston, Texas. And like I say, Houston was 200 miles from where I'm from. So my goal then was like, you know what? I'm going to open up me a school right here in my hometown so that people won't have to do like I did and have to go 200 miles to go to barber school when there's a lot of talent right here 200 miles away, but you just got to go down there. And I had to choose Houston because they was giving out Pell Grants, student loans, and stuff like that. And the one in Tyler, it wasn't. So I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to Houston because my mama didn't just have $10,000 sitting around in the backyard because we come up and it was tough times. My dad died when I was 6 years old. And so I went down there to Houston and I went to barber school and I was like, this is something that I never had a clue about. I thought I was the best barber before I went to school. I thought I was pretty good, but I didn't know nothing because when I got to barber school down there in 2001, I started learning that there was bacterial diseases, staph, and wingworm, and that the hair is very nasty, but you got to know what you're doing. That's why you have to go to barber school in order to know these things. You can't get these things just cutting on the front porch in your backyard. And so I educated myself with more of the barbering industry. And so I finished school down there, and I stayed down there 10 years. I ventured my way back this way around 2010, but I didn't come back to my hometown, Lufkin. I went to a town called Nacogdoches, Texas. That's where SFA University, for people that's here online, know familiar about SFA University. And I worked at a location right across the street from there. And I built up my clientele, not knowing anybody. I passed out cards right there at that university. And like you see these little rappers that run around here passing out their little CDs and promotion stuff. I just flipped the script, and I did it as barber because I knew I had to let somebody know I was in the building. So I humbled myself, and I made out them cards and like off the printer and stuck them on people's windshield when they had like college parties or when they had class. I would walk over there. If I ain't got no customer in my chair, I'm walking over there with my backpack like I'm a student, and I'm passing them out to them students over there. I built my clientele up, and I opened up 2 barbershops in that time, 2 successful ones. I left from Nacogdoches in 2012. I came to Lufkin, back to my hometown. And when I came back this way, I opened up a shop called Legends Barber Shop. And I said to myself, with me having my barbershop in my name, which was Pleasant's Barbershop, with the other 2, I said I'm gonna do something different, and I'm gonna change it, and I'm not gonna put it in my name. So while I remain anonymous. So I named it Legends Barbershop. And with that shop, I opened it up by myself. And when I opened it up, I had a different mind state. I opened up ready to hire. I didn't open up to get all the money by myself. I opened up ready to hire. So I put in another station beside me. And this white lady named Stacy, she say, you got any room in there for me? I say, well, you know what? Yeah, I got some room in there for you. And when I brought her in there, it started bringing, more straight hair clientele, right? And then after I brought her, a guy came, an older guy. He was about maybe 50, and he was a barber. He say, hey, you got any room in there? And I said, I do. I have something ready for you next week. I went down to Lowe's. I bought a cabinet, bought a barber chair off of Amazon, and bought him some mirrors and everything. And I say, your station's ready. You can come on to work. And when I got him, it started bringing his people and his family members. So it was branding my name. And the more people that I brought into my business, not only was they helping me by, building up myself and them, but they were building up the name Legends. And so, because when you hire somebody, their family members and friends are going to come and support them. And even if that person don't work there no more, they still going to come. So they made a name, you know what I'm saying? And so with that, I built up and more people start coming, and you have to be a good, well-rounded person. Like you got to be a people's person and knowing how to be able to work with people, because sometimes the booth rent ain't going to be on time. The booth rent might be a little short. Or something like that. You can't just blow up at a person and be like, hey, no, you're done. You're done. You ain't gonna pay me. You gotta go. You got to work with people because it's business. And just say, okay, I got you. You pay me half, but next time, you're gonna have to come on with it. And so I built up to where I had beauticians and barbers in there. And I built up where I had 12. When I had 12 stations and 12 operators, I said, okay, what am I gonna do now? And so with that, I wanted to build up my product. I didn't want everything just walking out the door just any kind of way. So I would go in and help those students that just got hired from me from a school that they done graduated from because they cuts wasn't on point, And so I'm like, man, this is becoming a lot of hard work. I'm sitting up here helping everybody with their haircuts, and they still got to pay me booth rent. But when they get their money for the haircut, I'm not getting none of the money. They getting the whole thing. And I'm only getting a portion of it during the booth rent on Saturday. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to go to the next level and better myself. I then went to Barber College again to be an instructor. It was very difficult because you had to run a business at the same time. So I had to make sure that the person that I put as the manager of my shop, a good person that was well-rounded. And I ended up with this Chinese lady named Masusu. She could hardly speak any English. It was funny, but I tell you what, she was very nice. She helped me out a whole bunch. On Saturdays when booth rent was due, she would go and collect them from all of my employees, and she would bring it to me. The money always on point. She wasn't just the best cutter when she came, but I put her in a station beside me so that she can build up her skills, and I helped her out. And so with that, I was able to go to Barber College again to be an instructor. Once I got halfway through the instructor program, I'm wondering, where am I going to work at? I mean, yeah, I'm a be a barber instructor, but where am I going to work? So then I talked to the guy that I went to school that to be an instructor, and he was telling me, you know, this and that and this and that. I said, you know, I think this is my time. And so I had the money. And so what I did is I went on ahead and I invested into a barber college of my own. And I never been an instructor. So with me graduating from being an instructor, it was my first instructor's job. I had no idea what I was doing in 2018. Didn't know how to teach nothing. I had to teach myself how to be a better teacher by going to YouTube and watching videos with you in it and helping me to build my skill up. And so at that time, I'm running a barbershop with 12 stations, and I'm running a whole college. So I'm like, wow, you know, it was very difficult. It was very difficult because times got to where I couldn't be two places at one time. The people wanted to see my face. They wanted to see Mr. Legends. At that barbershop I had, they wanted to see Mr. Legends there because I had the good customer service. You know, that I wouldn't be where I am without customers. You can't live in this world without people. You can't make it without people. I don't care if you're a barber, you working at McDonald's or wherever you at, because you got to go get some groceries. You got to eat. So you're going to have to deal with people. So I built up my people skills a lot. I worked in management skills a lot. So I'm like, I had it where I wanted it, but it didn't fall through like I wanted it. So I ended up shutting down the barbershop, and I brought everything that I had from my barbershop and put it in my barber college, which was 2 times the size of my barbershop. My barbershop, it was 1,200 square feet. It's pretty big for a barbershop. And so when I put everything off in the college, I had to start thinking about what can I do to better this college every day. And it's like, okay, I tried to go through this accreditation process. You got to be open for a certain at the time. So that was out of it. So how am I going to make it? Well, I made it through the haircut services off the floor. I built my clientele up where my customers would come in, and they will come in on a regular. They the ones helped me through this accreditation process as far as finances and for I got the workforce now and stuff. But through the whole years from me opening that door, it's been people, customers, my community, showing awesome love because I couldn't have made it without them. So what I did is I offered $10 haircuts to them, because when I shut down my shop, when I was charging $25, I dropped down to where it was $10 for them to come in. That ain't really much, but if you get a whole bunch of them, it started adding up. I always said as a college owner that I won't do anything for money because it won't be enough. But if I do it for the people, they're gonna always be enough. Even when I was cutting, I didn't worry about the money that they gave me after I got through cutting their hair and shaking their hand. I was just worried about putting somebody in that seat. So when I get home and my shoulders hurting and my back hurting and my feet hurting and my knees hurting, and I'm pulling money out of my right pocket and my left pocket and my back pocket, chin, I ain't hurting no more. I ain't tired no more. You know what I'm saying? So those stuff like that gave me the drive to even push even harder to where I wanted to be. So now they like, I gotta swing this so far to be a part of this accreditation process. So I made it, we're giving away the 5th haircut for free. So customers will always have something that they'll be a part of. They get something free. Everybody loves something free. So I give them the 5th haircut free. And we started making it like that. Boom. I got a hold of COE and I told them it's time. They said, all right. Okay. They say, well, you're going to need 2 years audit. And, you're going to need to break some bread. You're going to have to come off a lot of it. And so I was like, okay, I'm down. I gave them my money. I started my run for the accreditation process, not knowing what I was getting myself into. Okay. So in exchange of me breaking bread, they give me a stack of paperwork to do and no way of know how to do. It was a tough process. Anybody that's going through it, I pray for them. It's a lot of schools There are 300 schools out there that want it. And I mean, all I can tell you is you can do anything in this world that you want to as long as you're willing to work for it. There are people out here all over the world that are willing to help you. If you just reach out, I got a call today about KTRE News wanting to do an interview with me for being the first accredited barber college in East Texas. Now, there was a barber college that been here before me, but no, they were not accredited. Remember, I had to go 200 miles to Houston. That was the nearest accreditation. So for East Texas, there has never been a barber college that has been accredited. So to be said with that, also the first African-American owned college in East Texas. You know, it's tough, but I thank God and my wife and everybody that been there, that supported me, and the loyalty of the customers. And, you know, I'm willing to help whoever because nobody made it to be successful by themselves. Everybody had some help along the way. So I called you, and I think I told you, I remember your story. That's what got me, and from where you been and where I been. And I felt like at that time, I felt like nobody gonna pay me for what I was worth. I felt like I had to work for myself. I had to work for myself because I had 2 strikes on my back. And so I knew how much money was gonna be enough for me. And I told you that, I say, man, Millionaire Barber, I say, everybody has a role model. If they don't call it a role model, then it's somebody that they want to be in the position and be in their same position of. And I remember, checking your story out, and I was like, man, this guy right here, man, I like that. I want to be a millionaire barber. I'm on my way. But with this accreditation, I'm definitely on my way. I talked to the guy the other day, and he was like, now that you done been granted, accreditation, he says, you ready to be a millionaire? And I say, yeah. I say, I reckon about, 3 to 5 years I'll be one. He said, oh no, you be one sooner than that. And so, and I watched you, and I seen what with the struggle that you went through to get to where you are. And it's not easy, especially, being African American, of course, and I don't want to get too much on that part, but and how this world is, and it's very tough. But you got a strong ambition. You got a very strong one, and you like me. I mean, I'm like you or whatever, And when you got somebody that got a real strong ambition, it's very hard to stop. It's very hard to stop someone that got a real strong ambition, and that's what I see in you.
Now, what was you thinking when we would talk on the phone? Like when you would call my phone?
I was thinking, like, could it be possible? Could I achieve this accreditation process? Could I feel like, man, I didn't go to college for like 5 and 10 years or whatever to be a doctorate degree and master's degree and all that stuff, Mr. Chin. I've been behind that chair for 25 years, so me being computer savvy and I tell you, when it come down to typing, and I did more typing than I ever done in my whole life this year. Doing this accreditation, I have done more reading in my whole life this past year doing this accreditation, printing paper and exhibits and criteria. It's just the whole thing that I've ever done this whole year. I done built up a whole bunch of gray hairs in my face, but it is a great reward, and I felt like, that my family and I deserve this reward.
Chester, what would you like to tell other current school owners and future school owners, people that's working in the shop, that have a dream to open a school?
I would tell them, it's always somebody out there that's willing to help you guys. If you just be humble and always be willing to learn something, no matter how old you are, whether you are a young man or old man or whatever, always be willing to learn from your students. Like I say, even as an old person, if you get to the point where you can't learn, Chin, you can't grow. And this generation just makes circles. So if I exclude myself from trying to learn from someone younger than me because I felt like I had my chest out too much and I'm too old and I don't want to listen to somebody younger than me, then I'm neglecting myself, and I'm making a barrier for me learning what's going on this generation. This technology is really boomed up, like with Zoom and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all this free advertisement that out there. You know, all these things are good tools that you could use. I wish that now, when I opened up my school at first, I didn't know which way to go. I didn't have no direction. You know, I couldn't just call one of these other schools around, a barber school, and be like, hey man, you know, what's up? What I supposed to do like this right here? Because guess what? They knew I was coming. They knew I was in the neighborhood. They knew they were gonna have to come. They were gonna have to face me in business wise. So they wasn't gonna give me the knowledge that I needed. So I'm having to play this all by ear and learning every day. And the way I learned a lot from is bumps and bruises, you know, little fines that you gotta pay. And when I had my barbershop with the 12 stations in my college, I had a water bill over there at my barbershop for $500 for 1 month. You know, as an owner of the business, you know, you gain all the money, but you got to bear all the losses. That's all you. So, you know, one way that these guys, they need to do is keep their overhead low. Keep your overhead low so that you can stack money. Don't live outside your means. Don't sit up here and buy a 24 karat commode and you can barely pay the water bill to keep it going. You know, try to save money. It's a business. It's, at the end of the day, it is a business. And the students, at the same time, you know, you got to realize, Chin, that they ain't there for you. They there for them. Because if they were there for you, then they would come to school without clocking in and give you that free time. They come in there for themselves. So use your labor time that you giving to your students, that you got 1,000 hours of labor time or 1,500 hours of labor time, depends on what state you in. You need to use it, and you need to use it wise. Your school should be spick and span. You shouldn't have to be cleaning your school. You should give out chore sheets. This week yours, this week yours. Have more discipline and they'll respect you for that. They won't be mad at you, they'll respect you for that. They pull that, oh, I'm finna get ready to go home type stuff. Well, hey, come on, let's hit that clock then, let's go. You know, and starting to help those that really wanna be there. You know, yeah, you're gonna have different problems and stuff, but number one thing, as a school owner, and you tell your student when you come to reprimand, always remind them, school didn't come to you, you came to school. So whatever you got going on, I'm not a hard butt. I mean, hey, I'm responsible for I'm responsible for everything and everybody. So if I have a student that's doing one thing and he's causing problems with other students, it's my job to protect him. It's my job. They are investing $10,000 into me protecting them, making sure that they get their education. So I have to I will engage instantly and tell them, hey, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, do something different.
What did you think about, you had called me one time about an auditor or something, you remember that?
Yeah. I was asking, I say, man, you know, the Fed say that I need to have an audit. He was like, well, I know somebody that does them real good. And you referred me to him. And I appreciate that. And me and him, we have a good relationship with each other. I end up using them again because you have to have 2 years of audit. So I used him again, and me and him, we have a good relationship. So he knows about, we just got granted accreditation as well. These schools, they opened up before me and I'm past the financial aid before them. That don't mean anything. It just mean that I was just focused and just determined. And like I say, Chin is a good guy. He helped me out a lot. And, you know, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, this is just the beginning, Chester. And I can't wait. So you're going to keep moving forward. Then after you start making all that money, we want to have you on here again so you can tell them how it is, because that's going to inspire others. When they hear your story and all the other people's stories, that gives them hope. It lets them know that they can do it. So the more of us that they see, the more inspiration that they're going to get. Because the best way to inspire somebody is for you to become that person. So now that they're seeing you accredited, and then all this money start rolling in, that's gonna give them even more firepower to move on and take that leap. Like Steve Harvey says, to jump. So I just appreciate you coming on, Chester, and sharing everything with us.